Hello, my name is Ash. I'm 34, live on the eastern suburb side of Melbourne, and have been in Australia pretty much my whole life, other than a few trips overseas. So before I bought a ticket to Offline Valentine, I was struggling a little bit with how to find a connection with somebody, but also where to seek that connection from, because it was harder nowadays with so many different ways of interacting with people, but it's all through a phone or through text messaging or through emojis or something like that. So actually to connect with somebody, then to find what that right way to go about it was difficult. So the results I got after attending Offline Valentine were almost, sort of at the other end of the spectrum. And that was because I was able to find that connection through assistance through Sarah and the matchmaking process. But also it was a situation and a scenario where it felt comfortable to actually ask questions of someone without feeling like you're asking too much, or is this too soon, is this too far? So because it was more of a sharing game, and you knew that what questions were asked, you also had your answers and you got to share that story. So much of getting to know somebody is sharing the stories. And if I went, say, and I met somebody just, randomly without the assistance of, say, Sarah and Offline Valentine, I would be thinking in my head, oh, how do I ask them this? How do I ask them that? But the questions guide you through that to ultimately kind of get to know somebody. And I think that was the big change from when I first started and hadn't signed up to Offline Valentine, and then when I completed Offline Valentine. So I think the thing that kept me from signing up and coming to an Offline Valentine event was mainly nerves. Being an introverted person, to sort of be social or to put yourself out there and to talk to somebody was something I thought, oh, I'm not going to be very good at that. That'll be really hard. So socializing, meeting one-on-one with somebody that I haven't really met was something from a confidence perspective I also didn't feel like would be right for me. And so I ended up thinking about it on a week and actually asked a few friends what they thought, and to look over the website and to see if they felt it was right for me. And all of them said, look, the only thing that you will really lose is nothing. You'll gain so much more about being social. You'll get out of your comfort zone, a little bit. And as someone who hasn't used dating apps or signed up for, online events or things like that, this being a little bit more one-on-one, being a little bit more whilst there was nerves, I think turned out to be a very, very positive experience. So for me, the thing I liked the most about Offline Valentine was when you turned up, you already had some information about who you were going to meet. So you already knew that there were things that you had in common, but they were deeper than an online profile or what someone could just type as interests, like my favorite color is pink, or my favorite color is purple, and this is my favorite actor or actress. We actually were matched on things like how important trust was, how important communication was, and whilst many of those things are common, I think Sarah was able to filter through and match them so that whether you're an active person, whether you had similar interests or goals, and so when you turned up on the evening, you kind of already knew the person you were going to meet is aligned with you, which quite often in the real world and with everything that's going on nowadays, that itself is quite difficult to find. So just having some of that groundwork done for you is a big help. And even then on your little card that you get, you've got all these prompters to ask more questions. So for me it was, oh look, I see that you go running every day. That's just like me. How often do you run? How much do you run? And we got talking about sports watches, and so the conversation is quite easy to start with as well. So I think that was the biggest thing I got out of it, was that you turned up kind of knowing you had something in common, and so you had lots of conversation starters. So my main concern about signing up for Offline Valentine was whether or not there would be someone out there to match with me. So for me, I thought, nah, look, I don't know if someone would like these things about me by filling out the questionnaire. I don't know if there would be someone who I would kind of match up with, and then what would happen if that wasn't the case. So I was a little bit worried about the aspect of, getting my hopes up a little bit and then finding that maybe there wasn't going to be a match or anything like that, which now after attending the event, I can 100% sort of say that, look, I gained, so much more, and it wasn't so much about that, more so than the actual experience of going out there and meeting someone and meeting other people, but also just having a chat about questions. And the thing with Offline Valentine that I found is that a lot of the people that I met, we were all kind of in the same boat. We all had some of the same kind of fears and some of the same, anxieties, which initially when I was signing up, I thought, no, I don't think I could do this. It's a bit too confronting, but everybody's pretty much in the same boat. And the really nice thing is that Sarah organises the event in such a way to feel, very, very comfortable and to feel like you can go and ask these conversation starters. So if I was to recommend Offline Valentine or a similar event to someone like my best friend, I would say go with an open mind. So I attended quite hopeful of, meeting a match and meeting someone and striking gold and hitting it off. And, we became very, very close to that. But I think more so the experience is far more something to gain from. And I think the bigger picture of it for me was going out there and having to meet somebody, getting out of your comfort zone, sharing some stories about who you are, and then learning about who somebody else is. One helps, especially if you go in with an open mind and you go quite open to see what comes your way and to all the people that you meet, and taking the time to listen to their stories. Sometimes you want to go and you want to share so much about yourself, but it's also about learning and listening to the other person's story. And quite often you find there are actually a lot of things that a lot of people have in common. And once you can kind of get past that sort of stuff, which I can say as someone who's attended the event, you do get through those little first initial nerves and obstacles. So yeah, to anyone considering attending, it is definitely worth going to, because it really is about a growing experience. And I've gained so much more from attending. So I would just say go with an open mind, go with an open heart, and just go with the flow. So out of all of the other things that I could have done, I chose Offline Valentine purely because it was about the matchmaking process, and it was about having that opportunity to create something with someone that was on the same page. So many times you could go out and you can meet people, or you could sign up for lots of other dating apps and things like that, but initially those first few steps can be quite superficial. So Offline Valentine basically takes a hammer to a lot of those superficial things and just knocks it right out of the park, and it really helps narrow something down to a real connection with someone. And if you know some of the things that you're after, and if you let Sarah know, or if you pay the extra, get the non-negotiables and those sorts of things, Sarah and the team will really, really try to get that, which was my personal experience. And so it was really about the connection. That's what drew me to Offline Valentine. It was actually the opportunity to sit in a nice environment, a comfortable environment, and go through these questions where, one, you get to know somebody else. Two, it also, before you arrive, you get these questions to go through. So it gives you a chance to look inwardly at yourself too. So when you turn up, both of you are at the exact same point. And that's what I found was very different to any other event or app or anything like that, is you actually got real time to create, to discover, to laugh, or to have a real connection with someone. So it was really about just having that connection, which is what attracted me towards Offline Valentine, was the opportunity to actually sit with someone like-minded, but sit with someone of a similar interest, and go through those questions and discover about each other as well. Yep. So before I attended an Offline Valentine event, obviously single was the status, but I wasn't too interested or focused on dating apps, or trying to find someone to connect with or have a connection with. So I knew what I didn't want to try. For me, I spent a lot of time just sort of working on myself, doing activities and things like that on my own. But I was always hopeful that I would find a connection, or I would find some common ground with somebody, but I just didn't know how. And so attending Offline Valentine created that opportunity to actually find that middle ground, to actually find that connection. So afterwards, I can quite positively say, that it is out there. You just have to find it, because before Offline Valentine, I thought, is it really possible in today's world? Can you actually find a real connection with someone in all of the ways that we have to interact? And that was the key thing beforehand, is that I was finding it harder and harder. I didn't think it could be done. And then after attending Offline Valentine, you realise, look, it can be done. It is out there. And even if it isn't specifically your match or specifically at that one particular event, it's a nice little reminder that it is out there, and there are actually lots of people that are trying to find the same thing. So until you go, you just don't know. So my life now, after experiencing an Offline Valentine event, I'm a bit more confident in myself, and I'm a lot more happier to be social with other people that I meet along the way. Most of the time, for me personally, I tended to shy away from that sort of stuff. So it's given me a little bit more confidence in my day-to-day life. And if there is somebody that I do now outwardly maybe notice a bit of a connection or a spark with, I know what to do. So one of the things that surprised me the most about the Offline Valentine event was the matchmaking process. So my match personally, and if you're watching, it was lovely to meet you, and I hope everything is going well. But the process in that meeting and that connection was very, very genuine. So I noticed as we went through the questions, there were lots of things that we had in common, and there were lots of ways that we communicated that you could see some time and effort had gone into the matchmaking process. So that was a very, very enjoyable and very surprising aspect of it as well. Was the matchmaking process was excellent. My experience was great. I had a wonderful time going through the questions and getting to know somebody, and we had a lot of things in common. So I think that was the biggest standout, was you already sat down with this person, or you already were in a room of people that are very similar minded or have similar interests. So that initial barrier is gone, which was one of the nicest things, the most warming things about attending Offline Valentine. A lot of the 36 questions that I went through, I realized so many people that I know in my life, family, friends, and that sort of stuff, I was able to use some of those questions to interact with family and friends more. So that was definitely one benefit, because so many people close to you that you think you know so well, some of these questions actually create another layer of understanding in someone who you may be known for years. Two, it gave me a lot more social confidence. So in the future, to attend another event, or if I did happen to to meet somebody and have a connection, I feel like I've got a way to learn a little bit about who they are and to share about who I am, without trying to think of maybe awkward questions or what might be appropriate to say or not say. I was able to, now I've got like a little bit of a bank, you could say, to kind of draw from, and that gave me experience but also confidence to go forwards. And the third thing was, it's just heaps of fun. The thing that I gained was that I can actually tell a story. I can say, hey, look, I did something that I never usually thought I would do, or something that I was quite nervous to sign up for, and I've got now a story to share with friends or family, or anybody watching this. You'll have one too.